Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 12. I am Janice Cobham coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari pledges support as Nigeria hosts major cultural, tourism and literacy events. Federal government to implement telecoms beverage taxes in 2023. Plus, new rocket strike on Ukraine nuclear plant as UN warns of disaster. We will bring you details of these headlines and other stories shortly. Welcome to the news on Spectrum Television. First in our news today is a report that President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged full support for three major international events scheduled to hold in Nigeria in October and November. According to him, these events are opportunities to showcase the nation's rich heritage in culture, arts, tourism, and entertainment, as well as advancements in media freedom. Nigeria will be hosting the 2022 UNESCO Global Media Information Literacy Meal Week in Abuja in October, the first global conference on cultural tourism and creative industry in Lagos also in October, and the second Global Association of Literary Festivals Conference in Abeokuta in November. President Buhari's spokesman, Femi Adesina, stated in Abuja that the president welcomes decisions by organizers of the three separate historic events for Nigeria to host the fiesta. The organizers are UNESCO, the UN World Tourism Organization, and the Global Association of Literary Festivals. The president assured all stakeholders and participants of the warmth and hospitality of the people of Nigeria. On Meal Week, Buhari noted that it is instructive that Nigeria is attracting positive international attention as a country that promotes media freedom and freedom of expression. According to him, the country recognizes the important roles information literacy and media education plays in sustainable development. In another development, the federal government has projected that debt services will cost 10.43 trillion naira by 2025, according to the 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. This is a 182.66% increase from the 3.69 trillion naira budgeted for debt services in 2022. Recall that the International Monetary Fund had earlier warned that debt servicing might gulp 100% of the federal government's revenue by 2026 if the government failed to implement adequate measures to improve revenue generations. However, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Ahmed, and the Director General of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oniha, have insisted that the country does not have a debt problem, but a revenue challenge. Speaking at the launch of the World Bank's Nigeria Development Update in Abuja, the Finance Minister admitted that Nigeria was struggling to service its debt and stressed the need for debt sustainability, noting that even though revenue is increasing, the expenditure has been increasing at a much higher rate, making it a very difficult situation. Meanwhile, the federal government, through the Budget Office of the Federation, has revealed that it will begin the implementation of its proposed excise duties on telecommunications services and beverages in 2023. The Budget Office of the Federation, which is under the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, revealed its plan in its 2023-2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. According to the ministry, it was in a bid to boost its non-oil revenue streams. The minister further said it is expected excise duty revenue to grow exponentially because of the introduction of telecoms service charge. It explained that the law now empowered the FIRS to appoint anyone as its agent to withhold or collect VAT and remit same to the service. And we move now to the legislature, where the opposition lawmakers in the National Assembly have said there is no going back on their resolve to impeach President Muhammadu Buhari if he fails to address the insecurity in the country within 6 weeks. The lawmakers, in separate interviews with newsmen, dismissed a report that they had backed down on the plan to remove the president after the expiration of the 6 weeks ultimatum handed down on July 27. Recall that the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, had come under ferocious assaults by terrorists who launched separate attacks on troops and the Kuje Medium Security Custodial Center, as well as the attack on the Presidential Guards Brigade troops at Buhari Kubwa Road, Abuja, killing a fellow. Following these developments and the impeachment threats against the president by the opposition lawmakers, the National Assembly leadership expressed fears over the worsening insecurity in the country. The Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC) has asked the Nigerian National Petroleum Company (NNPC) to submit state-by-state consumption of premium motor spirit (PMS), otherwise known as petrol, to its committee. The directive is contained in the FAC Post-Mortem Subcommittee final report submitted to the whole House at its July 2022 meeting in Abuja. The members noted that consumption of PMS has been a major concern to members, and it was raised severally at the FAC plenary. Therefore, there is a need to ascertain the consumption of PMS in the country for the year 2021. Recall that the NNPC has not remitted a kobo into the Federation account since the beginning of this year, as the company has reported to the committee that it cannot make the expected remittances because it spends all its revenue funding subsidy. In education now, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has accused the federal government of misinforming Nigerians about their demands, just as it said that it never had it so bad with past administrations as far as negotiations are concerned. The ASU President Professor Emmanuel Osodoke disclosed this while reacting to the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Festo Keyamu's claims that it was unrealistic for the federal government to borrow money to end the 5-month-old strike. Osodoke, in an interview with newsmen in Abuja, said that the claim by Keyamu that ASU was demanding 1.1 trillion naira to end the industrial action is false. He therefore urged the federal government to stop misinforming Nigerians. Osodoke said that negotiations with the government have not been fruitful owing to the actions of some government officials at the federal level. And still in education, the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, Professor Ishak Oluyede, has appealed to the Academic Staff Union of Universities to sheath a sword and come to a truce with the federal government over the ongoing strike. According to the JAM Registrar, both parties will have to take hard decisions if the issues are to be solved permanently. He made the comments during a tour of some centers in Lagos, where JAM's mop-up Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination held. Meanwhile, the registrar also said the conduct of its 2022 mop-up Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination cost over 100 million naira. Oluyede explained that rewriting of the exam became a necessity for candidates who could not participate in the examination during the main exercise in May for various reasons and largely due to examination malpractice. He added that over 42,000 candidates were participating in the examination in 5 states. On electoral matters, African Union Development Agency New Partnership for Africa Development UDA-NEPAD has stressed the need for political party members and leaders to be calm in order to have a peaceful election and transition next year. National Coordinator, Chief Executive Officer of UDA-NEPAD, Gloria Akubundu, who spoke in Abuja after receiving an Ambassador for Peace award from Universal Peace Federation UPF, said the award would spur her to do more in good governance, working with public and private sectors. She vowed to advocate for peace for Nigeria, Africa, and global peace. There will never be any development without peace. In Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has said that Red Rail Line will be completed in December and operational in the first quarter of 2023. He spoke when he inspected work on the project, which covered Onyigbo, Agege, Ikeja, Mushin, and Yaba axes, accompanied by Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat and other members of the State Executive Council. The governor said the contractor has assured the government that the physical infrastructure of the project would be completed by the end of December to allow for testing before full operations. Sanwo-Olu added that the Agege station would be walled off to restrain trading activities, adding that traders around the Yaba rail corridor would be relocated. And back here, the Young Progressives Party YPP yesterday led its entire entourage in the Akwa Ubok Abasi campaign movement to Oron, where it held a momentous thanksgiving to God for seeing the party through in its ongoing efforts towards the 2023 elections in Akwa Ibom State. The Thanksgiving service held at Methodist Church, Nigeria, Cathedral of the Cross, Diocese of Oron. YPP's principal and governorship candidate Obong Basi Albert, also known as Oba, reiterated promises to light up Oron Nation as a true economic hub while bringing all-round development to Akwa Ibom people and decisively tackling the plights of civil servants in the state as well as pensioners. Oba vowed to continually uphold the dictates of God in governance of Akwa Ibom State and to always lead the state in the path of righteousness and justice. Also speaking during the event, retired AIG Asukwo Amba Awana, who is YPP's chosen to deputize Senator Basi Albers, expressed profound gratitude that finally the plights and grievances of the Oro people nation will now be adequately addressed. Also speaking, the chairman of YPP Campaign Council, Imem Akpabio, commended the discipline and fast-growing pace of YPP and foresaw a bright, prosperous future. Meanwhile, the state chairman of YPP, Apostle Iyeneme Andrew, spoke on the choice of Oba to contest governorship seat of Akwa Ibom State, expressing convictions that the turn of events in the political terrain of Akwa Ibom State is divinely orchestrated.
What is the Lamb? Ukbono, my Lord the Bishop, our clergy here present, Ukbono, the church, the women, the youth, the elders of the church, the presbyter of the church, Ukbono, all my brothers and my sisters in Akwa Ubok campaign movement, Ukbono, my brother, the chairman of our dear party, YPP in Akwa Ibom State, the Joshua of our time, Ukbono, my dearest wife, the incoming First Lady of Akwa Ibom State, by the grace of God, Ukbono, my big brother, by the special grace of God, the chosen by God alone. And here was the choose and his dear wife, my DG, the chairman of our strategic committee, seated over there, our leader, the chairman of our campaign council, may God honor you. Our most revered candidates, the senatorial candidates, the National Assembly candidates, and the House of Assembly candidates, Collectively, we say to God be the glory. So let me thank God and also thank my big brother for accepting to run on this ticket with me. And to also assure you that both of us collectively, with every other candidate from the House of Assembly to National Assembly and to the Senate, and all members of Okobo or Abasi, we will work together to recover our dear state, to reconcile our dear state back to God Almighty, and to also reposition this state for greatness, prosperity, and unity.
When my principal asked me to come and run with him, sir, can I run with you? For 40 years, I've been in the wilderness. I think that was the last time Oron had a deputy governor. Can I still recover the years the locusts have eaten? Let me be a running mate. He says, no, you are not going to be a running mate. You are going to stand side by me so that we can recover the years the locusts have eaten. The next thing he said, Amber, on my honor. Like you heard him say, Oro is an economic base of Akwa Ibom. Ibaka, if I can do something about Ibaka deep sea port, insecurity, economic insecurity, all that will be gone.
When I picked the lady as my running mate in Urefon, God said to me, that's where your deputy will come from. And as a party chairman, I kept it to myself. And when we had series of consultation, to God be the glory, today our deputy is coming from there. Let me say this, in 2014, God made a promise that the present governor will be governor. And he said, when it comes to the next time again, I will show you the next governor. It will be the greatest task, but you will lead that team. And today, God has given us, I'm not saying because here, in all the candidates, this is the very best for Akwa Ibom State. And finally, God said to me, when Senator Bassi Albert becomes governor, it will be 8 years of light in Akwa Ibom State.
We move now to Africa, where a majority of members of parliament MPs in Somalia have approved the country's appointed cabinet by a show of hands. Reports say Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre's 75-member government was confirmed moments after mortar shells struck residential neighborhoods near the presidential palace in Mogadishu. The Speaker of the House, Adan Madobe, said the quorum is 237 MPs, 7 MPs refused, 1 MPs abstained, while some 229 MPs endorsed the approval of the new cabinet ministers. Therefore, it is approved, noting that if there was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, security challenges will remain top of the agenda of the newly appointed cabinets. In addition to the Al-Shabaab insurgents who have been waging a bloody war against the government and the people of Somalia for 15 years, a looming famine will also be one of the new cabinet's priorities. Prior to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Somalia imported 90% of its wheat from both countries. In Mogadishu, food stocks provided by international donors have been depleting. On the foreign scene, the United States of America Senate has passed Democrats' $750 billion healthcare, tax and climate bill in a significant victory for President Joe Biden and his party. Reports say the final party line vote was 51-50, with Vice President Kamala Harris breaking the tie. The package is a product of painstaking negotiations, and its final passage would give Democrats a chance to achieve major policy objectives ahead of the upcoming midterm elections. The Democrats-controlled House, which is expected to take up the legislation on Friday, August 12th, must approve the bill before Biden can sign it into law. President Biden praised the Senate for passing the bill in a statement, thanking Democrats in the chambers and touting the legislation's climate investment and healthcare provisions.
Tens of millions of young Americans who have spent years marching, rallying, demanding that Congress act on climate change, this bill is for you. Today, after more than a year of hard work, the Senate is making history. I am confident the Inflation Reduction Act will endure as one of the defining legislative feats of the 21st century. Our bill reduces inflation, lowers costs, creates millions of good-paying jobs, and is the boldest climate package in U.S. history. This bill will kickstart the era of affordable clean energy in America. It's a game changer, it's a turning point, and it's been a long time in coming. To Americans who've lost faith that Congress can do big things, this bill is for you. To seniors who face the indignity of rationing medications or skipping them altogether, this bill is for you.
Vote. The yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
And still on the foreign scene, a ceasefire between Israel and Islamic Jihad over Gaza appeared to be holding early today after going into effect at 11:30 p.m. local time Sunday. Announcing the truce, a brief statement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office thanked Egypt for its mediation efforts, but warned that if it was violated, the State of Israel maintains the right to respond strongly. Terms of the agreement were not immediately made public. However, reports say that in the push for a truce, Cairo was working to see the release of an Islamic Jihad militant captured by Israel 6 days ago, as well as ensure a Palestinian prisoner on hunger strike in an Israeli jail would be transferred to a hospital for medical treatment. Previous ceasefire agreements have reportedly seen Israel making commitments to ease its closure of Gaza. Meanwhile, Ukraine has accused Russian forces on launching rockets at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, further ratcheting fears of an incident a day after the United Nations watchdog warned that fighting at the occupied complex risked a nuclear disaster. It was the second time in as many days that the plant, which is the largest of its kind in Europe, was hit. Ukraine and Russia have traded blame for both attacks. According to Energoatom, Ukraine's state-run nuclear power company, explosions blew out windows in parts of the plant and one worker was hospitalized with sharp-panel wounds. Energoatom said 3 radiation monitoring detectors were also damaged, making timely detection and response in case of aggravation of the radiation situation or leakage of radiation from spent nuclear fuel cask currently impossible, adding that a nuclear catastrophe was miraculously avoided this time, but miracles cannot last forever. And still to come in the news. Nigeria wins historic Commonwealth Women's 4x100 meters title. Many thanks for still being there. Now to the rest of our stories. In our business news, Nassau Microfinance Bank Limited has launched 3 new products as part of its on-balance sheet lending portfolio. A statement from Nassau FMB said the 3 products were designed for easy access to credit facilities by micro, small and medium enterprises that require affordable credit facilities to boost their businesses and salary earners to cater for immediate and pressing needs. According to that statement, the loan sum accessible to micro businesses and SMEs engaged in trading activity with daily sales ranges from 50,000 naira to 250 million naira, subject to a satisfactory turnover that covers the expected facility amount, noting that the petty traders does not necessarily need to have account history with NMFB or any other bank to access the facility. According to the bank, interest rates for the product is very competitive with a streamlined documentation process for access to any of the facility from the bank. NMFB reiterated that these products are different from the government intervention products administered by the bank, adding that a loan product for the agricultural sector covering farmers and all businesses in the agricultural value chain would be launched within the week. And still in business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has said local production of cassava-based sorbitol would strengthen the naira. It noted that production of sorbitol would also help to reduce unemployment and over-reliance on importation of the product, which is a natural sweetener extracted from glucose that drives agricultural revolution. Speaking on behalf of CBN during the inauguration of the first cassava-based sorbitol factory in Africa, Pastry International Company Limited, located at Ado Awaye in Okeogun area of Oyo State, the Director, Development and Finance Department, Yusuf Yila, represented by Edwin Nzelu, a deputy director in the department, said the project was part of the bank's developmental function, adding that Pastry was one of the beneficiaries of CBN Commodity Development Initiative, which he recalled was started in 2019 with 12 focal commodities, including cassava. The Chief Executive Officer of Pastry, Oluyesimi Ironloye, said the company would create jobs for 10,000 youths in the community, adding that it would also indirectly impact on 100,000 people within 200-kilometer radius to the factory, covering more than 50 communities. In health now, experts have called on the federal government and other employers of labor to implement 6 months of maternity leave and make the workplace conducive for mothers to practice exclusive breastfeeding for their babies. The experts, who made the call in separate interviews with newsmen, decried the low exclusive breastfeeding rates put at 29% in Nigeria, hence the need to increase support for mothers. The president of the Nigeria Society of Neonatal Medicine, Dr. Olukemi Tango, said the theme for the 2022 Breastfeeding Week, Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support, was to encourage mothers to exclusively breastfeed their babies for the first 6 months of life for all the benefits accrued from breastfeeding: the baby's growth, good development, emotional development, immunity to fight infections. Tango, who is also a consultant pediatrician, neonatologist at University College Hospital Ibadan, said employers needed to know what they do would benefit from making the environment conducive for their workers to breastfeed. And still in health, Professor Chukwumeri J. Okereke, Director, Center for Climate Change and Development at the Alex Ekweme Federal University, Ebonyi State, says climate change will cost Nigeria $460 billion by 2050 if actions is not taken to mitigate its effects. Okereke, who disclosed this in an interview with journalists on the sidelines of the 9th International Lagos Climate Change Summit in Lagos, said from 2020 till now, climate change is already costing 15 trillion naira, representing 2 to 11% of the GDP. By 2050, climate change will be costing 69 trillion naira, representing 6 to 30% of the GDP. The expert, who is also a visiting professor at Oxford University, said that climate change was already having an untold effect on flooding and rising sea levels in the country, as flooding is already affecting 25 million people in Nigeria. And to some sports stories now. And after setting a new Commonwealth Games record in the final of the women's 100 meters hurdle, Tobi Amosun has said that she would continue to showcase her talent at the big stage, noting that she was yet to come to terms with her stunning 12.12 second semi-final win at the World Championships before going on to win the world title in Oregon with 12.06 seconds win-aided time. Yesterday, Amosun added a Commonwealth Games record to her world record as she stormed the race in a time of 12 minutes 30 seconds, while Daphne Charlton of the Bahamas took silver ahead of England's Cindy Seba with the bronze. An excited 25-year-old Amosun said 2022 is God's year. Tobiloba is just showcasing her thing. She described her feat in Birmingham as poorly executed, although she was able to get herself together to do what needs to be done. And still in sports, Team Nigeria's women 4x100 meters quartet of Tobi Amosun, Favour Ofili, Rosemary Chukwuma and Grace Nwokocha have made history at the Alexander Stadium in Birmingham by becoming the country's first women's relay team to win a Commonwealth Games gold. The quartet achieved this feat in record-breaking fashion, running 42.10 seconds to break the barely 1-month-old 42.22 seconds African time record they set at the World Athletic Championship in Oregon. England had to settle for silver in the women's 4x100 meters relay as Nigeria charged to an impressive victory.
Hands back for the Nigerians. A roar from her teammates. Nigeria going to take this one, even with Darren Leach in second. Keep an eye on Thompson here, though. The Jamaican superstar comes through for bronze for the Jamaicans.
In our entertainment news, Seth and Christy O have become the first housemates to be evicted on BB Niger Season 7 at the live show. The two housemates got the lowest vote after being put up for eviction last week. Meanwhile, two new housemates were unveiled as riders on the Big Brother Niger reality show. The housemates, Cheesy and Rachel, will stay till the end of the reality show but can't win the prize. They can also be nominated for eviction but can't be evicted. And that's all we have for you on Spectrum News at this hour. Do well to follow us on all our social media and subscribe to our YouTube page, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 12. I am Janice.